What's going on, everybody? B. Scott here with
G.O.D.
And on today's show, we're going to go over the running back position. Draft day is upon us, and we got to look at the running backs. Values, undervalues, overvalues, you know what I mean? Some sleepers, and some guys that we're just not going to be drafting.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, stay locked and loaded right here at the first 4 downs.
Yeah, you know what it is. Drop the logo.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. And on today's show, like we previewed, we're talking about running backs. And these are guys that you're going to be drafting all over the place. We're going to help you out with the value. Absolutely. It's important for running backs to get value.
Yeah, you got to have value. Your workhorses to your satellite backs to, your bobby fillers. You want production, and we got the plug, so let's get with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, share, hit the thumb at the bell, help us out. We're helping you. You help us, hopefully.
Oh, that good shit.
Absolutely. And don't forget, there's going to be some timestamps in the description below on some of these players. So we're going to start at the top.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. It's the 1-2. I struggle. I honestly am high on Saquon Barkley being the number 1 pick, and I'm okay with it. And now I get with Christian McCaffrey, with the consistency, and what he did at last year is outstanding. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, last 2 seasons, I mean, he almost had back-to-back 2,000 yard from scrimmage seasons. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you can't hate on that. Whether you take him 1 or you take him 2, I mean, you're gonna get work.
Yeah, absolutely. And Saquon Barkley coming off the injury, we already know how talented he is on the field.
Yeah, of course.
He's outstanding.
Probably metric-wise, probably the best running back in the league, to be honest with you, just based on talent. What excites me about him is knowing that Jason Garrett is the OC over there now. Now, if you're not accustomed to Jason Garrett, and you're just new to fantasy football, well, he's produced running backs like Ezekiel Elliott, DeMarco Murray, Marion Barber, and the list goes on. They get nothing but volume in the running game and the passing game, and with his talent, dude, he can just explode and possibly be one of the best running backs of all time. You know what I'm saying? Just with that kind of talent, knowing that offense is going to run so fluid with him. But yeah, that tier, they're in the tier by themselves, just like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. So we can move to the next tier of running backs. Zeke Elliott. He's come off the board as the number 3 running back. Rightfully so. The man carried the ball 300 times. He had 70 targets last year. So the volume is going to be there for Zeke, but you don't know how the loads carried him so far.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw his average yards per game has decreased every year for the last 3 years.
Passing game went down a little bit last year, and I think that had a lot to do with Tony Pollard. They added him to the offense coming out of Memphis. Another thing that concerns me about Ezekiel Elliott is not only CeeDee Lamb in the passing game, where his numbers will go down, but he's had water on the knee. He's had his knee drained a couple times, so he's in that era where these prime running backs, they get all these carries coming into the seasons. You know what I'm saying, in their first couple of years, he's in that area where he can suffer an injury. You know what I'm saying? That's very scary for me. And at the 3 pick, I would take him. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. But I got Dalvin Cook ranked higher than him. I got Dalvin Cook at the 3. You know what I'm saying? But he has his injury concerns as well. And knowing that, maybe a contract extension is not in the works for him right now, maybe he holds out as a surprise holdout. But Ezekiel Elliott, he's surefire. He's been there, you know what I'm saying, on a production basis every single year, in and out. You know what I mean? How can you fade him?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be impossible to fade him, in my opinion. So, number 4, right now it's Alvin Kamara. And talent-wise, Alvin Kamara should be right here. Based on the talent of the guy's electric on the field. But last season you saw he had to deal with an injury. Came out in the offseason, said he tore his knee.
That's not good.
Of course. And then, we got the contract discussions. Everything going on in camp right now.
That's also not good.
You getting the shot in the back. Is it real deal? Is he fine? Nobody really knows. There's a lot of question marks around Alvin Kamara. So it's hard for me to take him as my number 4 pick.
I'll tell you what. I feel like if they pay him, then that obviously he's healthy enough to go. You know what I'm saying? If they don't pay him, buyer beware. And given your draft is within the next couple of days, so that's up to you to figure out, you know what I'm saying, if you really want to take this kind of guy Right now, is he dynamic? Yes, he's dynamic. Does he make Drew Brees a better player? What they've been doing since Alvin Kamara has been there, they get the ball off really fastly. It's made Drew Brees last year. You know what I'm saying? He broke the record. He's the most efficient quarterback of all time. So, you know that plays a huge factor into their offense. But as a fantasy point, he's a top 5 running back. Period. He can be a top 1 running back, to be honest with you. But is he going to do it this year? That injury does concern me a lot.
Yeah, of course. So, number 5 on the list. This is an argument whether it could be Dalvin Cook here being drafted or Derrick Henry.
Yep.
But, you know, me personally, I like Derrick Henry just for the fact that you know what you're going to get from him.
Yeah.
You're going to get probably the rushing leader on the season. You're going to get 10-plus touchdowns. You know, you're not going to see a lot of volume in the passing game. And now if you're playing a full-point PPR, I'd probably take Cook over him.
Yeah.
You know, personally. But with the standard being half point or just a flat standard, Derrick Henry would be a lot higher. But at the half point, I do like Derrick Henry here. You know, I think the consistency is going to be there in that offense. And
yeah, he's a factor, man. There's a reason why A.J. Brown averaged 20 yards per carry. I mean, per catch, excuse me.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's because you have to stack the box on Derrick Henry, but it's not effective because this man is, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You seen his workout videos in the offseason?
Yeah, he's a Mack truck.
It's unreal. So
You could grab him and know that you have consistency week to week. I would take him easily.
Yeah, of course. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook last season, outstanding.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of injury concerns coming into the season last year.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what?
Did you tell America, the whole world, to fade him?
I didn't say to fade him necessarily, but I did say that Alexander Madison was on his toes. And now everyone's talking like if you draft Dalvin Cook, you have to take Madison because you have to worry about the injury risk. You saw Madison last season, 4.6 yards carry.
Yep.
Just 1.1 yards more than Dalvin Cook.
And even Mike Boone, he did show to be very effective when he did play as well, when Madison was down.
In little spots, they're going to run the football. You already know that.
Yeah,
so Dalvin Cook, number 7. Plain and simple. So this is where Clyde Edwards-Helaire is coming off the board after these tier running backs. And honestly, I've seen Clyde Edwards-Helaire come off even as high as 3 to 5 at the running back position.
That's all high.
It just baffles me because I look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and wonder, you draft a running back that's 5'7", 200 pounds, and you think he's going to get 220 carries? I mean, is this guy Jamal Charles?
Because I would say he's the third wheel.
I'm just saying, because they come out this week, we're talking about, Darrell Williams is probably going to be in a split to start the season. We already figured Helaire would be eased in. Damian Williams had the holdout, so that hurts that. Obviously, it allows Helaire to have even more value, but are you really going to trust your number 1 running back and your first round pick to be a rookie? Don't get me wrong, on the number 1 offense, but in an offense that you already know is going to throw the football. Yeah,
I can't, because here's the thing. Damian Williams was like really in high regards to Andy Reid. You know, when Damian Williams had a shot, he averaged over 20 points per game. You know what I'm saying? They won a Super Bowl with him. He almost won the MVP, to be honest with you, in that same Super Bowl. Coming into the offseason, they were noting that he was going to be the starter, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire would work his way into a role on the team. I don't see nothing that has changed from that point to there, even though Damian Williams opted out due to COVID.
Yep.
What has changed? Did he really take that significant of a leap in camp?
Obviously.
Does he have a season under his belt that says that he, you know what I'm saying, can handle this kind of workload? No. So are you really going to risk your 5 to 7 pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire? I personally wouldn't, but the upside, considering the players that Andy Reid has drafted, you look at LaShawn McCoy, Kareem Hunt, I think this is what the hype is based off of. These are guys that finished like top 3 running backs in the league. You know what I mean? Absolute monsters. And that's the upside that you get with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He can possibly be that. But also, we have not seen a single snap from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and there's been no preseason. So go ahead and take that if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge risk, especially in the first round where they come out. Darrell Williams is going to see a split in the early going. You know what I mean?
If you're thinking about that right there, I'm thinking about the number 2 running back last year, Aaron Jones. I would take him over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. To be honest with you, if you were thinking about upside, because I mean, he was dynamic, 19 touchdowns. What has changed in that offense? Absolutely nothing. They were one game from being in the Super Bowl, and you can argue who was the best player on that team, but I know personally that Aaron Jones was the MVP of that offense, of that whole team. Why would you take Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Aaron Jones? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And in our ranks, this is where we have Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones is actually sliding down. We talked him up last season. A lot of people talked him up last season. And what did he do? He was nothing short of outstanding. Yep. On 240 carries,
Free Aaron Jones.
Had over 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. So 19 total touchdowns, 3 with the receiving. So it doesn't make sense to me that once again, I feel like he's being disrespected, like he was last year, being third, fourth round. Now he's sliding to second to third round right now. ADP at 19 to 20. I mean, come on, man.
I think the rhetoric is bullshit because you know what? They draft A.J. Dillon, but A.J. Dillon has not run with the ones in camp. I've been watching it very closely. And even if he did, guess what? Jamal Williams is still there. So he automatically took Jamal Williams' place, and Jamal Williams is very effective when he carries the ball, period, or catches the ball. Come on, man. I feel like
it's season last year.
Yeah, that's a non-factor to me. You know, I feel like draft Aaron Jones. This kid is ridiculous. He's one of the very few running backs who can do explosive work, dynamic work on your team, and be very consistent week in, week out with limited carries, limited touches. You know what I mean?
Very few running backs can get a 40 spot,
yeah.
And he's one of them. And if you think about it, then bringing in A.J. Dillon, they think, oh, well, Aaron Jones, he's projected just shy of 8 touchdowns. Obviously, he had 16 last year. That shows that he can run in the red zone. He had a lot of 1-yard plunges. Yes. You know what I'm saying? He can get it done. A.J. Dillon does not change anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, again, no preseason.
Exactly. So, next guy on the list, Miles Sanders. This is where he's getting drafted, right at the 9 spot. Now, he's actually projected ahead of Aaron Jones. Miles Sanders has a lot of question marks. Coming into the season, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of hype around him. He performed very well, especially down the stretch last season. You saw what he could do in the pass game. 500 receiving yards on 50 receptions, 3 touchdowns. And he was pretty effective running the ball between the tackles, too. So, coming into the season, they let Jordan Howard go. Absolutely, there was tons of hype on Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
But now, lower body injury, which has still, to this day, for the last 2 weeks, not been specified.
Yeah.
Saying he should be ready for week 1. In an offense of Doug Peterson, who we already know doesn't running back more than 200 carries anyway. Why, you know what I mean? It's time to drop Miles Sanders now.
Yeah, I feel like that too. You know, recent news is like in camp, he's been doing shadow drills by himself. That's great, but you're not running between the tackles. We don't know what this, how significant this injury is. And in that stretch, towards the second half of the season last year, Boston Scott, the other B. Scott, averaged 6 catches a game, 6 targets a game. You know what I mean? And he was very effective as well. I think that knowing that Doug Peterson has never run outside of a committee at running back, I think that he is secretly in a committee at running back. You look at the star of the Philadelphia Eagles camp, Corey Clement. We already seen what he could do when they went to the Super Bowl. And, you know what I'm saying, years after that. He's a dynamic player as well. Can he be consistent? That has not shown. But they kept him on the roster bubble. They released 2 running backs today, actually. You know what I'm saying? So you got those 3 running backs. I think this is a full-blown split. This is a committee. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily a split, but a committee. And for you to take your first-round pick on Miles Sanders, you gotta be kidding me. When you could take a guy like Devontae Adams, you could take a guy like Julio Jones, or possibly a Nick Chubb where you know he's going to get the run, period. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm off of Miles Sanders.
Yeah. So, next on that list, Nick Chubb. He's right behind him. You just mentioned him. And this is another guy that it's hard to argue his ADP, considering absolutely Kareem Hunt is there. You know, he is going to take some run away from him. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But to argue that Nick Chubb is just going to be an afterthought because Kareem Hunt is there, there's no way. You saw last season, on the carries he had, he essentially led the league in rushing, considering Derrick Henry had over 160 yards, at least, I want to say, in the last game of the season, to push him just ahead of Nick Chubb. but averaged 5 yards per carry. Very few running backs can say that they toted the ball over 270, 280 times and had average 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, this is Georgia Bulldog, though.
You know what I mean?
You know who else is Georgia Bulldog? Todd Gurley, Swift, Sony Michel. These guys are runners. You know, Nick Chubb is something else. He's a freak of nature. He reminds me of a Herschel Walker or something like that. Man, you think about last season, and he did us with a terrible offensive line last year.
Yeah, so they say, right?
Yeah, they upgraded the position. They got a tackle in the draft. They drafted. They signed Jack Conklin from Tennessee, where you seen Derrick Henry just explode last year. You know, I think Chubb is going to be a beast. Also, they added Stefanski. You know who he was the offensive coordinator for last year? Dalvin Cook. I think that Nick Chubb absolutely has the potential to be the rushing leader. I think it's only going to be him and Derrick Henry in that conversation, period. Now, you think about Kareem Hunt. You know, yeah, he's a top 3 player at the position if he's by himself. What I do like about, you know, Nick Chubb and the Kareem Hunt thing is, like, you've seen Jarvis Landry. He's been hurt. He's been running drills right now. He had the surgery on his hip. And they've been running Kareem Hunt in the slot. That's very good. And it shows the offseason work, what they did. They want to run that 22 personnel. They already got David Njoku. They want to go sign Austin Hooper. There's going to be a lot of play action. There's going to be a lot of love for Nick Chubb running that offense, man. You know, they went and got Brian Callahan, the best offensive line coach in the game. I think Nick Chubb is a beast, and you're getting them at value in the first round. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, considering
first, second round, that's value. His carries and everything like that is going to be right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the next guy on the list, a guy that I get the hype, but I'm still staying away. Kenyon Drake. You know what I mean? You look at last season through the 8 weeks, he was outstanding. You know, last 8 weeks with Arizona. He had a lot of hype coming into the preseason, just like Miles Sanders. Honestly, being considered a first-round pick at the running back position, especially in 12-man leagues. So, there's just too many question marks for me with Kenyon Drake. He did have a walking boot on in training camp.
Yeah.
He did last year. I'm not
as of today, he's supposed to have the walking boot off.
Yeah, of course. So I you know, take that with a grain of salt as you will. I say he's okay. He seems okay. But them and DeAndre Hopkins, you know that they run the spread offense. How much can Kenyon Drake do? And knowing that he's never carried over 170 times in his career, which was his high last season.
You know what? That's the biggest question mark to me. What can he do? Can he finish in the season with all the work? Knowing that Chase Edmonds is right there, ready to take that production. I mean, you know, the kid had 20 touchdown seasons back to back in college. When he did play last year, he looked pretty good. I mean, I'm not so sure about Kenyon Drake at all. The plus for him is when he did come to the offense, they went very run heavy and they utilized him a lot. And he averaged 13.5 points a game. You know what I'm saying? Fantasy points a game. So, you know, hopefully that just translates to full season. That's all I can say. I mean, you know, there's other guys that I would take there. I mean, Kenyon Drake is my number 13 running back on the board. And actually, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is 14 and Miles Sanders is 15 to me. You know what I'm saying? You look at a guy like Chris Carson, who carried the ball 18 times a game last year, 20 touches. I would be looking at this guy or you know what I'm saying, possibly a Todd Gurley. Or maybe even, you know what I'm saying, just fading at getting my receivers right and trying to go get a David Johnson or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things in question about Kenyon Drake that I can't warrant a second-round pick for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the same boat with you. One guy we skipped over, I just want to bring him up briefly, Austin Eckler. Huge value. Don't get me wrong, I can't believe I skipped over him because, in my opinion, this is a running back that I've contemplated taking at the turn in drafts. You know, 10, 11, 12, something like that. So, yeah. So, coming off the season with 8 receiving touchdowns, 900 receiving yards, 90 receptions at the running back position. No Melvin Gordon there. through the first 6 weeks without Melvin Gordon, was the number 2 running back.
Yeah.
You are transitioning from Phil
Behind
Rivers. That's what I'm saying.
Behind Chris McCaffrey. So it's like, this is a guy you're getting at value in the second round. You know what I mean? Like, given there's the incumbent there at quarterback is gone. What do you think they're going to rely on? They already got a stout defense. They added a lot to that defense. Derwin James is out again. You know what I'm saying? That's the new Bob Sanders.
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I don't even want to say anything about him. Shout out to Anthony Lynn.
Yeah.
But you know, they're going to run a football. A lot of this is going to be the focal point of this offense is going to be Austin Eckler. I feel like Justin Jackson. Okay, if he makes his way on the field, that's fine. I don't think that it's going to really eat at his production or his carries. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Eckler, surefire in my opinion. Easy. He could be a top 5 back.
Yeah.
And you're getting him at huge value.
Yeah,
Eckler's got huge value.
course.
So
I love Eckler.
Absolutely. Mixon is another guy right in that mix of all these running backs where I think Mixon's going to be very consistent. Now, is he going to be...
I hate him.
I get it. He's a very consistent running back in my opinion. Last season, it was hard to say that because the first 6 weeks, he sucked. Last 10 to 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, he dominated.
That's when I was ready.
He was very good. Look at the snap share. So, you know, I had to go back and actually truly look at the snap share. He did get hurt in week 2 with a sprained ankle. You saw Alvin Kamara. What that ankle did to him, hurt him all year. Saquon Barkley. Freak of nature came back from a high ankle sprain after just 1 week gone. Maybe 2 weeks. But you saw that it affected his game the whole season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Joe Mixon, similar. Now, it might not necessarily been a high ankle sprain, but still an ankle sprain plays factors. I think Mixon, with adding Joe Burrow at the quarterback position, could be 7 to 10. Could finish as right around that 5 mark, between 5 and 10, I think. So, and where you're drafting him at, you know, I personally wouldn't take him in the first round, but if he's in there in the second round, middle to the end of the second round, I would take a stab on him. If you at my RB1, maybe my RB2 if I go 2 RBs.
I hate Joe Mixon, right? But the only upside that I would say on this year is if you're betting on hype with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then you should bet on hype with Joe Mixon, because Joe Burrow was the quarterback for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and you get do you think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is better than Joe Mixon?
No.
Guess who his running back is? Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow's running back is Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, in the passing game, in that passing work, Joe Mixon runs a 4.3. He's a solid running back, you know, and I feel like that's why I have him ranked at the 10 spot. You know, the upside there is ridiculous. If you like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you should be targeting Joe Mixon.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of running backs that are after these tiers. James Conner.
Yeah.
You're getting that. James Conner is a huge value. As long as you can get him, in my opinion, in the 3rd round. Now, 12-man leagues, you're going to look at a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick. But James Conner has top 2 to 3 running back potential. He truly does. You look at back to 2018 with Roethlisberger. I get it, Antonio Brown, and all the stuff. But still, you're looking
at a better offensive line.
He was the number 2 running back through 12 weeks before he got hurt and missed the rest of the season. Even that season, still finished as the RB6, missing 3 games. You know, so it's like the talent is there. James Conner beefed up in the offseason.
Yeah.
They did add depth. They drafted Anthony McFarland, but you already know you already know Tomlin. He runs a running back, period. He doesn't like to mix and match. He likes to keep one guy on the field at all times. He did with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell suspended. Who was it? D'Angelo Williams. Same scenario, and D'Angelo Williams was old at that time.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
James Conner, I think, still has huge value and huge upside where he's at. Now, yes, injury concern. That's why he's where he's at. You know, but I love me James Conner.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you on all those points. I would not be mad if I took 2 receivers in the 1st round, or I took a combo like, you know, maybe a Kelsey Mahomes, or you know what I'm saying, Lamar Jackson, or a wide receiver. I would not be mad if James Conner was my number 1 running back. To be honest with you, he has tremendous upside, and getting him in the 3rd round is getting him in the 3rd round is completely at value.
Yeah, absolutely. So now there's a lot of guys we can still talk about. Chris Carson is another name in the third round that I think, with the off-season surgery to the hip, it's scary. You don't really know if he's truly fully healthy. Now, in training camp right now, he's looking to be. They bring in Carlos Hyde because they need some depth at the running back position. Yeah. I think Hyde can take some carries away, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he can. He's very capable. He was just under 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah, of course. But he's on the older side, so
yeah.
But he's obviously not going to take the job over. Chris Carson, average 18 carries a game. One of the league leaders in carries. And he's been very consistent over the last few seasons. And you see in his passing work each year grow. And I wouldn't even argue that Carlos Hyde is a better receiver than Chris Carson. They're both very similar running backs. Very similar style. So I like Chris Carson because no one's giving him a lot of the hype, and man, the guy can get 1,200 yards rushing.
You know what I'm saying? His production is stupid. Like, knowing the consistency of where he's going to be in that offense, of course, that's round 3, round 4 value. That's a stud right there. You know what I mean? You got to take him. He's actually one of my players that in the 4th round is just at value. You know what I mean? I love Chris Carson. There's really not much to be said about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And David Johnson, we talked about him being the high risk, high reward, right? This is another guy that you might end up having to reach for. A lot of drafts I've done, mock drafts, people are flat out reaching for him. So if I like David Johnson, if you get him in the right spot, there's some risk. Obviously, we've already discussed it, and I'm not against taking David Johnson, but could I say I would be happy with David Johnson being my RB1? I wouldn't feel very comfortable with that. RB2 absolutely all day if he if that's how it worked out. So
yeah, he was on pace like last season to be the number 6 running back. You know what I'm saying? He still got it in the pass game. In the season prior, he did finish as the RB10. So I think there's a lot of juice left in him, and considering that they gave up so much to go get him, shows the void that they need. And Bill O'Brien, this has to be surefire. The workload is going to be there for him. You know what I mean? So I love David Johnson, to be honest with you. Secretly, he's one of my sleepers on the season to be a top 10 running back, to be honest with you. Now, everybody can't finish top 10. You might hear us say a lot, he could be a top 10. He could be a top 10. He could be a top. Everybody can't, but the potential is there. You know what I'm saying? For a guy like David Johnson. Other than that, who are you going to look at? Todd Gurley?
Well, Todd Gurley's going a whole round earlier.
Yeah.
To be honest. And that's just based on touchdown upside for the most part. Gurley's got huge touchdown upside. 12 touchdowns he's averaged over the last 5 seasons. So, league leader in touchdowns, rushing over the last 5 years since he's entered the league. So, but there is a guy very similar to getting drafted by David Johnson, who we're not drafting. No one's targeting. He could probably fall into the 6th, 7th round. We're talking about Le'Veon Bell. This is a guy last season averaged 3.2 yards a carry.
Sucks.
Comes into a season on the Jets offense that got worse probably.
They suck.
Right? And they have Frank Gore, in which they state, we're going to go to a 60-40 split with Frank Gore. So now you're taking even more production from a struggling Le'Veon Bell last season. Honestly, the only way I like Le'Veon Bell is if he starts literally lining up at wide receiver every play.
The only reason why I like Le'Veon Bell because there's potential for him to be in the Canadian Football League. Oh, no, wait. That's canceled. You know what? I'm completely off Le'Veon Bell. The 3.2 yards is so gross. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't like this player. That offense got worse. That defense got worse. And I just don't see no value for him in any round. Past the 10th round, yes, I would take Le'Veon Bell. But there's a lot of playmakers. You look at Raheem Mostert. You look at Melvin Ingram. These kind of guys. You know what I'm saying? I would take them. Also, another running back who has changed teams, Leonard Fournette, in recent news. Knowing that Leonard Fournette is not the starter right now, of course you have to be practicing to start week in, week out. He has not really practiced with his team yet. This was as of yesterday. So, I feel like, Ronald Jones, of course he's a starter right now. They named him the starter. And until Leonard Fournette catches up with the offense. That's the guy that you could steal, a little bit later, overtaking Le'Veon Bell in the 6th round, for what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you drafted 2 or 3 running backs in the first 5 rounds, and Le'Veon Bell that was there in the 6th. I'm passing on them all day.
Enjoy your money. You completely suck now.
Yeah, I can't say that, but I'll tell you the Jets' offense is terrible. Adam Gase, I can't believe, is still a head coach.
Yeah.
And, power to the Jets fans, I guess, because you're looking at a 1 to 2 pick. You guys in Jacksonville are going to be duking it out for the number 1 pick.
Jets sucks.
There you go. So, now we're in the middle of the late rounds of running backs. Now you're looking at a lot of rookies. You're starting to take up some pairs and stuff like that. Guys are hurt. DeAndre Swift in camp with an injury. Dynamic player. I think he's still got a lot of value in drafts. But these are guys you're going to have to pair, mix and match. If you're heavy wide receiver, you go no running back. These are guys possibly.
There is no reason at all that you should be going no running back this year. No reason at all. Because look who you're looking at. Le'Veon Bell. Get out of here. Get you one early, and then fill in with these guys that we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I already mentioned DeAndre Swift. Injury. He's a guy I really, really like.
Me too.
Detroit Lions offense, but Kerryon's going to be starting week 1, and they could be in a committee out the gate. It would take a lot for Swift to overtake that, but Kerryon can't stay healthy on the field.
Yeah.
We like him as a runner, but...
Yeah, he does not suck.
Yeah.
But he's just not healthy. Through every level of football, through high school, through college, through the pros, he has been injured. You know what I mean? And major injuries at that. So, it's like, you look at a guy with the dynamic of a Georgia Bulldog and DeAndre Swift, it's only a matter of time.
Well, that's what I like best about DeAndre Swift, okay? You can get Kerryon Johnson at a value in your later rounds that you might be able to just start in the first couple weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Until Swift comes on in, and then you have a guy potentially that you can drop and let go for a waiver spot, So it's actually a good move to pair, especially if you're drafting heavy receiver or a tight end or a quarterback, where your second running back, honestly, even in a 10-man league by the 5th round, you could not have a second starting running back. So you're going to be taking some chances on some guys, right? So, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, of course.
This is a guy, it's huge, okay? He's on the Colts offense. Phillip Rivers. You already seen what he does with running backs.
Best college running back in football.
Taylor has potential, and on top of that, with the strength of schedule, to arguably be a 5 to 10 back, in my opinion. Even out the gate. As long as he's as good as advertised,
yeah,
I think he could. And
imagine if he, Claudio Edwards-Helaire, we're going to say his name again, number 1 running back taken off the board for obviously, what they do in that offense. But what if they drafted Taylor? Where would his ADP be at?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're looking at a guy that's, top 5, top 3, period. Drafted, period. No question about it.
Well, we talked about Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit too. Why, considering all these great running backs on the board, why would they take Helaire so high? And it's essentially, in my opinion, it has a lot to do with money and not having to deal with paying a running back in 3 years.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have to pay Mahomes, knowing that you're already paying Kelsey, knowing that you have a Hill that you're paying, knowing that you just paid your defenders. If you take a running back that you already know you don't need a dynamic playmaker, a la Damian Williams last season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they just need to get the job done.
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I'm saying? Not saying that they suck. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's easier to take a guy like that knowing that you won't have to pay him in the long term.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you're looking at Jonathan Taylor, your first round pick. I mean, in the NFL. J.K. Dobbins. You're going to have to pay these guys a lot of money.
Especially if they work out and are as good as advertised.
Yeah.
So, but, back on subject, Jonathan Taylor. Huge love for me. Definitely a guy that I'm targeting. Raheem Mostert, 49ers. Now, I like him. I worry about the hot hand touch with Kyle Shanahan in that offense. I mean, they still got Tevin Coleman. They still have Jared McKinnon under contract. They let Breida go, which...
They still got Jeff Wilson for the goal line packages.
Yeah. So, don't get me wrong. I do like Raheem Mostert, and I would love him as my RB2. I really would. I think for him to average 5.6 yards a carry last season, 6 straight games with a touchdown down the stretch, and the snap share. You saw in the first 8 weeks, there was 4 or 5 games he didn't even see the field. So it doesn't bode well for his fantasy points per game average.
Yeah.
You know, I really think Raheem Mostert with just 200 carries could get close to 1,000 yards and could get 8 to 10 touchdowns again.
If he gets to 200 carries. You know, you think about Kyle Shanahan, and we've seen him botch 2 Super Bowls when all he had to do was run the ball.
Right.
He loves his committee that much. So, you know, I don't know what the man crush is with Tevin Coleman and Jerry McKinnon is, especially when you got a guy like Mostert and Breida and you let Breida go. It makes absolutely no sense to me. This is why the more I look at Mostert as a playmaker, yes, he's dope. He's probably, I mean, metric-wise, he's probably one of the best guys in at the running back position. But Kyle Shanahan is his coach, so they're all going to get like 7 carries a game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that. The more I look at it, I just don't like Mostert at all. I like him like as a flex. Hopefully, I can get him later. But knowing that San Francisco does have a very high fan base, he's going to be one of these guys that get taken like 4th round. Period. And I think you're overvaluing him at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mostert, let me backtrack a little bit. I would like him as my RB2, but there's a few running backs, like I said. If I'm taking Mostert as an RB2, that means I'm taking 3 receivers in the first 4 rounds. So that tells you that I'm stacked up top and that my running back position, I'm going to be taking some chances late on some guys.
And you probably got an A1 quarterback or a A1 tight end.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely. So we already talked about Swift, Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
When you touch on him a little bit, I still like him. Touchdown upsides there in the red zone. You saw last season with the 10 touchdowns. And what I don't like is Dobbins. They want to work him in the offense.
I think it's a matter of time.
Absolutely. But they're talking about a 4-headed monster. I don't know how. Justice Hill, he was irrelevant last season. I don't think he's even plays a factor considering they still kept Gus Edwards on the roster.
Yeah.
With J.K. Dobbins. So this tells me that Mark Ingram could start off strong early on. And I think J.K. Dobbins could finish strong later on. And so for me, I like to pair these guys. Don't get me wrong. It kind of handcuffs you. You know, because you're taking a Mark Ingram in the middle rounds. And then you kind of want to target Dobbins. You know, if you're taking Mark Ingram, in my opinion, it's kind of like the same with Dalvin Cook. Where it's like you almost have to take Madison with one of your later round picks. You would hate somebody to just have Madison sitting on the bench just in case.
Yeah.
You know, so and
Mark Ingram, I feel like he's in the same position at New Orleans when they drafted Alvin Kamara. And you know what? We've seen what him and Alvin Kamara did. They both put up 1,000 yards. I think that's I think that's not far fetched at all if they can possibly do it. J.K. Dobbins is a fucking monster. You know what I mean? You look at Gus Edwards. He still had like 600 yards rushing last year. You know what I'm saying? It might have been 7. I'm not exactly sure, but you know they run the ball and they run the ball effectively, and they were the number 1 scoring offense in football last year. You look at Jonathan Taylor. This is the same thing when you have Mac. 1,000-yard rusher last year, great in the passing game. You know what I mean? There's nothing to say that that there could be a 2-headed monster that can flourish. You know what I'm saying? I take these guys; they have a lot of face value, and I think another guy who has face value in that same aspect is Kareem Hunt. You know what I'm saying? I look at Dobbins, Taylor, Kareem Hunt, all in the same light. I would love for them to be in my flex spot and potentially have RB1 upside.
yeah, absolutely. We were just going to get Kareem Hunt. He was next on the board, but now we're really getting into the muck of running backs.
Yeah, it's like the muck of running backs. Like, do you like any of these guys coming up? Akers, Darrell Henderson, Adrian Peterson. Do you like Howard? Do you like Breida? Do you like Latavius Murray? You know what I'm saying? Do you like any of these guys really to be fill your team?
Yeah, you know what? This is the thing. Devin Singletary. A lot of people are down on him, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say I'm necessarily down on him. I hope people are down on him. You want to know why?
He's in a 50-50 split.
He absolutely is. But he was last year. And he was still effective enough to be a RB2 if you drafted high on, if you were going a running back late or a bye week filler. Singletary still holds value. And we're a lot of people, don't get me wrong, were super hyped on him and thinking he was just going to take that leap to be the number 1 running back, to where I still feel, even in a 50-50 split, that he's going to run the pass down work. Not necessarily great with Josh Allen, but good enough. He's going to run the pass down work. He's still going to get the work. Maybe not in the 20s, but between the 20s, he's going to get the work probably. So that still tells me that he's effective enough, like a Kareem Hunt, where I could play him in my flex spot or a bye week filler, and you're drafting them right now, everyone's fading them off, which I'm happy to take them in the 7th, 8th round, as my RB3 or 4. I'd be happy with that, considering by then, if I'm fading the quarterback position, if I don't take a tight end, I've already stacked 4 stud receivers. I got at least 1 solid running back, and now I'm looking to fill just those RB spots and bye week fillers. So I like Singletary. Don't get me wrong. Now, don't reach for him. This is the thing. Don't overhype him. Don't understand his value. This is where a lot of these players are. Cam Akers, Jordan Howard is a dart throw in my opinion. Miami, who knows what's going to happen between him and Breida. But I do like Devin Singletary. I like him similar to Kareem Hunt in a similar aspect.
I don't at all. I look at him like David Montgomery. You know what I'm saying? David Montgomery showed flashes last year, but you know what? They get caught up on the offensive line. They try to do too much. They're not like straight runners. They don't have that cut. Not necessarily they can't develop that cut, but being in a 50-50 split, you're not going to have the touches to develop that cut, to gain that kind of experience. You look at guys like, Jacobs last year. You know what I'm saying? He didn't need a split, you know what I'm saying, going into the next season. Because he was dynamite in his rookie season. Devin Singletary wasn't that. And for them to draft Zach Moss, it just shows that they didn't like where he was at as a player. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I'm just a little bit worried about Singletary as a whole. Honestly, I would fade him. You know what I mean? Completely. Because there's a guy named Antonio Gibson for the Washington football team that is dynamic. You talking about a guy who's seen 14 touchdowns and 77 touches. You know what I'm saying? This kid comes out of the JUCO, junior college system, got his way to Memphis, and Darrell Henderson and Tony Pollard were there, so he didn't play his rookie season there, his freshman season there, and in the second season he really flourished as a split back. This guy's like one of these hybrid players, like a Breida, a Percy Harvin, a Mostert, you know what I'm saying, Cordell Patterson, these kind of guys that can play the wide receiver position and play the running back position. I like his potential a lot over a guy like Singletary, you know what I'm saying, to be really honest with you.
Yeah, my worry is Adrian Peterson. It's almost like you're looking at a similar split. Adrian Peterson's still there. He's still running the early downs, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, Washington getting him involved in running him in the slot, just pure slot, shows that you know what I'm saying, his snap share is going to be there on the field. He's going to be on the field to make plays, to be targeted, which I have Dwayne Haskins, my number 15 quarterback, you know what I'm saying, as a sleeper.
I got you. I could see that. Don't get me wrong.
This guy's explosive, man. 4'3", 6'2", 220. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all value. Just remember, once you get into these later rounds, you're looking at guys for value. And if they're not there in the right spot, move on and stack your team with something else. Take that backup quarterback if you have to. I don't highly suggest taking a defense super high, but
yeah.
I mean, if you can get the number 1 defense, honestly, after like the 10th round, it's possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Get the number 1 kicker if you have to. For me, I always take kicker in the second to the last round, but if you can get a Butker, go ahead and take him.
Yeah,
or
of
you
course.
Double tap on your tight ends. You know what I'm saying?
Over, and I would take him over taking a chance on someone like Jordan Howard or, you know what I mean, guys like that. Is there any other running backs?
No, I don't like any of them.
Yeah. After that, you know what I mean? It's a lot of dart throws. You're pairing some guys, Sony Michel, Damian Harris, just some names out there.
Gross.
You know what I mean? It's like, I like Phillip Lindsay, got a little upside, but, these are all guys that are going to fill your bench spots and fill your bye weeks.
Yeah.
They're,
basically.
you know what I mean? Not much upside.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's been the running back report. So, for B. Scott,
G.O.D.
we out.
Yep.